Hi, this is Roger Conrad. I'm editor of Utility Forecaster, which is a newsletter that covers on essential services from electric power to natural gas, water, communications around the world. We certainly are entering a pretty crazy phase in the market, and we're even seeing some of the utilities subject to some fairly wild volatility. I think the first point I want to make today is that we have seen fourth quarter numbers for pretty much everybody. We're seeing some pretty good indications of what the first quarter numbers might hold in store for many of the companies, and indications are things are still pretty steady. So as crazy as everything looks, as volatile as a lot of these stocks are, we're basically on fairly steady ground with most of them in any case. Haven't been a whole lot of bad regulatory decisions. Most have been very good, so we're going to see some rate increases going into earnings in the next couple of quarters. Companies that produce oil and gas that are utilities or are in some way related to unregulated energy markets are going to be doing very well. Power prices have been pretty strong around the country. Weather has been back to more seasonal levels in the winter, so sales will be fairly strong for those types of companies that are distributing energy. For example, propane companies. Pipeline companies seem to be going along pretty well. Companies have had no trouble with credit lines, so all those things that you would look for signs of an industry that would be affected by a recession, really not there right now, and I think that, again, bodes very well for the first quarter, for the second quarter, for distributions, and I think that's really the bottom line here as far as getting through the next couple of quarters and this bear market, which in retrospect it seems we've been in for the last, or at least since last summer. An area that's particularly interesting, I think, and will become more interesting over the next few months are some of the more beaten down companies in these sectors. History shows that utilities have a history of coming back really from any kind of disaster, no matter how bad things have been. The last big disaster to hit this sector was about 5 years ago, and since then companies, most of them anyway, have made pretty much the leap back from disaster. There's still a handful out there, though, that have been working their way back, and we've seen companies like CMS Energy and Sierra Pacific really take a bath the last few months as investors have taken a look at those lower credit ratings they still have. They have been rising over the last few years, but credit ratings still fairly low, and have drawn the conclusion that these things are risky. But again, the numbers are showing the exact opposite picture in the fourth quarter and the third quarter last year, and all indications are we're going to see continued recovery in the first quarter. So this is a group that I think holds a lot of possibility, a lot of promise going over the next 12 months as things do eventually cycle out of this very bad phase. So thanks for tuning in today, and we'll talk to you next week.